And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. And we are here for our final installment of Graduation 2021, which is our segment of year-end lists. We've already come out with the Honor Roll 2021 and the top 21 songs of 2021. And finally, the one that most people have probably all been waiting for, we have our top 21 Massachusetts songs of 2021. If you missed either of those episodes, make sure you go check them out. They're out on YouTube and all podcast streaming platforms. And we're going to just jump right into the list. And of course, before I get to the actual list, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast wherever you are currently listening. We are available on Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud in addition to YouTube. You guys obviously know the drill. If you've heard the last two episodes, you know how this kind of works. Gonna go from 21 all the way down to 1. And these are my favorite songs from the Massachusetts area. The criteria is that these artists, either have to be from Massachusetts, live in Massachusetts currently, or had to have spent some time living in Massachusetts. So some of these artists don't technically still live in the Massachusetts area, but they might be from here. So that's really the criteria for this list. And some of the artists are very local and others are at the national stage. So this is going to be an interesting and fun one. I'm really excited. We did these last year as well. They did great. There's going to be some recurring artists on this list as well, and some artists you've probably seen on the show. And yeah, without further ado, I'd love to get into it. At number 21, we have D Money Martinez with All the Smoke.
Yeah. Hold on. Just coming to set some shit straight, you heard? Let's get it. Hold on. Just give him a minute. Give him a what? Give a fuck by the rumors. Fuck what you think, I ain't clearing the sense. Stupid boy. It's fuck what you heard. It's fuck what you thought. Stay the fuck on my business. Stay the fuck on my business. Cause you could get hurt for playing with me. This shit could get wicked. Hold on.
D Money Martinez is an artist that I actually came on to from the CWTFB radio podcast. And big shout out to those guys, Charlie Machine, Cash G, and the whole crew over there. They actually got a BMA for the Best Music Podcast of 2021, the Boston Music Award. So big shout out to them. Congratulations, guys. You guys are really killing it. I saw D Money Martinez on the CWTFP podcast this year, and really got onto his music that way. He's really interesting. He's got a really production side that he does. He's also, of course, an artist. And I got really into his Larry Drip 2 album this year. And All the Smoke was one of the first songs, I believe actually the opening song of the album. And it's by far one of my favorites. I really love the violin sample that mixes with the snare drums. It's very dark and menacing. Kind of reminds me or reminiscent of like a Dreams and Nightmares. As impressive as the instrumental is, I think D Money Martinez is actually the most impressive part of this. I really love his double time flows that he portrays on here and the rhyme scheme he has. He really just gives a nice, solid energy throughout the track. He has a very confident delivery. This is going to sound kind of like an oxymoron, but like with a calm ferocity. Like, he's very confident in what he's saying, but there's like a ferociousness to it that I love that duality in his voice and in the way he delivers the music. This is a great song. You guys should totally check out the full track. And of course, the episode that he did with CWTFB Radio. Big shout out to D Money Martinez coming in at number 21. Very deserving of the list. And up next, we have Van Buren Records with Brain Dead.
By now my hometown, everybody know my song. She my biggest fan now, yeah, she blowing up my phone. I'm like Chip Skylark, they be knocking when I'm not home. They be making my line now, but I don't look for my clones.
Van Buren Records, comprised of Lord Felix, Andrew Regis, Giles, St. Leor, Meech, Luke Bars, and others. There's Ricky Felix as well. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention him. They're a massive collective out of Brockton, Massachusetts, doing some huge things. They had a really amazing year this year. They dropped their album Bad for Press, also did a lot of collaborative stuff with an EP with Aziz the Sheikh, who's the producer out in LA, who's also from Massachusetts, works with a high-level artist like Bia. So Van Buren really elevated their game this year even further than they did last year. They also got some Boston Music Award nominations and wins for them, so they're just doing a phenomenal job throughout their music. And the album Bad for Press had a really interesting creative rollout that I really enjoyed. You guys should go check out their Instagram page for more of that. But talking about more or less the Brain Dead song, it's really interesting track. There's an interesting contrast here where there's some banging drums, but it's also very mellow as well. So it has like a nice mix of both. And every artist that's on this track really does a nice job. I think Giles stands out the most from a verse standpoint. I think his gritty, sort of hard-hitting voice really goes nicely with this beat, and I really love Saint Leor's very catchy, smooth hook. Really love the Chip Skylark line. That brought me back, very nostalgic with like Fairly Odd Parents. So any 90s babies out there, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, I've just been a huge fan of Van Buren throughout the year. The album Bad for Press, again, like I said, Rollout was really good. Album itself was really good. Could have picked a lot of songs from this record. Medic was actually one I was toying with a bit to make this list, but ultimately I felt like the single Brain Dead really showcased a lot of what Van Buren's about. So I really enjoy this track. If you, by chance, some stroke of luck, have been living under a rock and haven't heard Van Buren records this year, totally give them a listen. Big shout out to you guys. Phenomenal album, phenomenal track. Coming in at number 19, we have Sleeping Bella with Insatiable.
Do you know what follows? My chest is hollow now, afraid to erase you, but maybe that's how we'll go.
Sleeping Bella is no stranger to this list and the podcast. We've promoted a lot of her music in the past. This song, Insatiable, happened to be one of my favorites of this year. She has a very interesting sound. Her music is very ambient, atmospheric. I would liken it to like some stuff that some of the older Weekend type style songs. She does like a lot of vocal reverb and distortion in her music. This song has very heavy synth production. It's very melancholy and has this really interesting slow build as it progresses, as the beat also progresses, but also Sleeping Bella's vocals. And especially in the hook, she has a nice blend of like breathy, drawn out vocals, but then also it includes a lot of reverb as well. So it really just gives it a nice full fleshed out listen. It's a very hypnotic vibe that will like put you to sleep, and then just when it has you, kind of again the hook with the energy kicks back, has this very blissful, euphoric feeling and energy that you can vibe and tone that you can kind of get from it. I just love this song a lot. I think it's very just mesmerizing in so many ways, and Sleeping Bella's vocals and vocal performance, as always, is simply breathtaking. So big shout out to her. She did fantastic on this particular song. Really big fan of her. If you like this type of style of music, I would totally, of course, check out more of her discography, and very well deserving of the number 19 spot on this list. At number 18, we have Simply Whitney with Law and Order. Simply Whitney is a funk vocalist and artist who is actually a Turntable Teachers alumni. She came on the show for a guest speaker episode much earlier this year. Funny enough, small world how things work out. She's actually a good friend of mine from college. Shout out Bo, her aunt, his aunt, excuse me. So that's really kind of an interesting thing we didn't realize until we did the guest speaker episode. But I'm really a huge fan of her music too. She had an awesome EP this year where she collaborated with producer Yuki Kanasaka, and this EP is titled Sleepless, and this song Law and Order is actually from that EP. And believe it or not, this song actually samples Law and Order, has a very groovy mix with really interesting drums and keys, also a really like slick guitar chord, as well with some interesting synth melodies. And right off the bat, when you hear Whitney's voice, you automatically hear just the booming powerfulness that her voice does have. It's very reminiscent, obviously, in this song too. She really just kind of commands control of the track, really is a focal point, but also does a nice job of using her voice almost as an instrument too, especially as the song kind of continues. You really hear a lot of the interesting melodies that she's able to hit and use with her voice. She has such a rich charisma and personality about her, and you can just hear it in the song. You don't even need to know her as a human, but obviously what you hear is kind of what you get as well with her, and that's the beautiful nature of this song, just how authentic it sounds, and just how much fun you can tell that she has with making music. So big shout out to Simply Whitney. I really love this song. If you guys like funk and anything with a nice groove to it, I definitely think you will love the Sleepless EP. Totally check it out, and check out the guest speaker episode as well if you somehow missed it. Really awesome one. She has a very really cool background as well for anybody that wants to check it out. So big shout out Simply Whitney, coming in at number 18. At number 17, we have Bo Burnham with That Funny Feeling. Now this one might be throwing some people for a curveball. Bo Burnham, isn't he a comedian? Well, yes, he is, but he's also a musician too. At least I count him as a musician. If you're unfamiliar with Bo Burnham, he's out of Wenham, Massachusetts. He's a really big time comedian now, and he's been having for years and years. He's been doing a lot of comedy and musical blended style performances. Has a couple of really awesome specials on Netflix that you should totally check out, like stand up wise. But this past year in particular, man, like I gotta say, Bo Burnham artistically went in a completely different direction, and in terms of like captivating an audience in a way that for me personally, I haven't been captivated by anything in quite some time with his stand-up special that he did, or really more of a pandemic special called Inside. And if you haven't heard it yet or haven't watched it yet, it's you'll laugh, you'll cry. It's unbelievably moving. He really just honestly with this one talks about some of like the oxymorons and fallacies of our society today, makes fun of it, but does it in such a just genius level way, and really details a lot of music within it, and that's what makes this thing so unique. And actually the whole album itself, it's out on Spotify too, so even if you don't have time to go check out the actual special, which you should make time for it, but if you're someone like me who loved the special so much, you actually go back to some of the songs. And That Funny Feeling really for me was a song that like I was listening to a lot. It's far less comedic maybe, like it's in terms of tone, than some of the other songs that are on or in the performance, or on the soundtrack, so to speak. But this song has more of like a, sitting around the campfire type of vibe. I love some of the lines he has here. Like he says like 8K resolution meditation app, which is like, obviously hilarious. Like, why do we need some of these like big huge apps to like meditate? He also says things like bugles take on race, where it's like he's talking about how brands have to like take on some sort of social dilemma in order to market themselves better and be more socially acceptable. And he has some interesting oxymorons too, where he says like gift shop at a gun range, mass shooting at a mall. I thought that was kind of interesting too. I love how he plays off of like different things that are happening in the world that are serious and like need attention, but you kind of using comedy to highlight them. I just think Bo Burnham this year did something that not a lot of creatives are able to do, really pull at the heartstrings of the audience, but then also make them laugh as well, and then make it just have such a profound impact as this album and really the special did. So big shout out to Bo Burnham, well deserving of the number 17 spot on this list. At number 16, we have Revelation and Godzilla featuring M. Dot. This is their song, I've Been.
Hey yo, Godzilla, what up? Rev, what up? Yeah. Hey yo. Yo, I've been dope since Hammer Pants with Rock Bro. Well before the Pilgrims ever held hands with Tonto. Hey, before the Mayflower took to the ocean, I was prophesied, scribed in the books of the Omen. I've been fresh.
Revelation is part of the EMS, Experimental Mind State Collective, as is M. Dot, and they both actually collaborate with Godzilla here for a really awesome track. It's very bombacious and enjoyable, fun. Really will kind of give you a lot of energy, and definitely a song that you should play in the car, at the gym. The very stark piano chords on it really give it a menacing feeling, but then it's interesting how Rev and M. Dot, and even Godzilla as well, with their vocals are able to kind of play, have more of a playful tone, and also give off such their charisma that they all have on the mic. It kind of gives off a very menacing aesthetic, but again, like I said, also playful as well. My favorite part of the instrumental specifically is these thunderous drums that come in. I think it really is sort of the backbone of the track as a whole. And all three MCs, like I said, they really deliver their verses with such conviction and bravado. I love the music video too. They're all kind of at a bowling alley, and there's really this interest again that kind of gives off the kind of a comedic undertone there as well. You could just tell they had a lot of fun crafting this song. And I just, in the video, of course, and it's just a song for me that I really loved. I did actually a piece on this song as well on Boston Hassle and on our website. So if you want a more in-depth, analysis of this song, I would totally check out that article. We'll link it in the description. But either way, Revelation and M. They're just such huge fans of them, and came on to Godzilla here for the first time as well. So through this song, so big shout out to them. Revan Godzilla actually have a collaborative album that you guys should totally go check out as well. This song is off of that. And big shout out to you guys. Really enjoyed this track this year, coming in at number 16. At number 15, we have Dev Soder with Brainless. Dev Soder is an indie alternative hip hop. Really, he kind of blends in a lot of different genres as an artist. He's actually a new father as well, so congratulations, Dev, from the entire Turntable Teachers team. We are, really happy for you, and hope you and wish you and your newborn baby nothing but the best. Dev is a part of the Atherlace label, which we've done a lot of work with in the past. And this song is also off the Did It Tapes EP, which dropped very early in 2021. I believe it was around February. And I just love this song for the funky psychedelic grooves that it has. I think that Dev really plays off of the instrumentation very nicely in terms of his vocal performance. I think he does a nice job of using just a wide variety of different aesthetics in one song. I always love how Dev does with it, especially with his vocals, how he distorts them a bit, makes them a little bit more warped and ambient. I think these vocal effects really aid in a lot of these lush melodies that he's going for. The theme of the song is very relatable too. It really gives off this idea that this person or this narrator feels like they're being kind of taken advantage of a bit by a significant other, and sort of being judged by his or her significant others, friends and family. There's a line here that I think really sticks out to me. He says, "I won't give you a dime. All I give you is my time and you waste it." I think, again, we've all been in that situation, whether it's even, it doesn't have to be necessarily with a significant other. It could just be with a friend or a coworker or a family member, of somebody that you don't feel is kind of giving that reciprocation that you really desire. There's definitely an insecurity with this song in particular, and sort of this kind of coming of age story, this sort of old, this young person really trying to deal with, handling with other people. So I think that overall, I think there's really a lot here for everybody. The song is just really fantastic in terms of its mood, and I think I really just enjoyed it as a whole this year. And overall, Dev has just been an artist that I've really become very infatuated with. He actually came on the podcast as well earlier this year, so make sure you go check out his guest speaker episode, as it's another really solid gem in our catalog. So yeah, big shout out to you, Dev. Very well deserving of the number 15 spot on this list. At number 14, we have Over the Bridge with Right Back.
Lately I'm my own worst enemy. I don't think I need any help, no, but I've been wasting too much energy.
Over the Bridge is an indie band from North Shore, Massachusetts that I came on to recently. Shout out Pareto, who actually put me onto them. And this song is great. It has a very funky island summer vibe as well. There's even within the instrumentation, there's these bongo drums that really give off that sort of that tone and that aesthetic. And the guitar chords are super groovy. I just love this instrumentation so much. It's some of the my favorite instrumentation that I heard this year. And I love the lead singer's raspy vocals. It really actually gives a great contrast to that instrumentation. And really the theme of this song is life taking you in a circle, feeling like you're just not going anywhere, like you're running the same race, almost on this hamster wheel of life, so to speak. He has a couple of lines here that I think are really great. great. He says, I love the chase, but I'm never satisfied. And then the other line he has where he says, I'm always kind of taking 2 steps forward, but I feel like I'm always 2 steps behind. I'm kind of paraphrasing that a little bit. But either way, I think this song also has a nice relatability to it as well. And then in the back end of it too, with the instrumentation, specifically the drums get much more heavier. And I think it just kind of really rounds out the song and kind of leaves the listener, not as, I would say, happy as they, or so to speak, as they came in with the initial first song. This, instrumentally it has a little bit more of like a fun aesthetic and like a groovy aesthetic, but the tones are very melancholy in the lyrics. So I think it sort of leaves you a little bit disappointed from like a standpoint, not from the song itself, but just from a standpoint of like the content. You feel like you're rooting for this artist essentially, or this speaker, so to speak, this narrator, and doesn't feel like they're ever getting out of the funk that they're in. So I just really love that that contrast for sure. And this was a great song. I totally recommend you guys check this out. And I'm really interested to see where these guys go next. So big shout out to Over the Bridge, coming in at number 14. At number 13, we got Shane Dillon with his song Storm, featuring Naledi Masilo and C4.
Wink, wink, look, life is a gruesome scene. The fakest, the truest things. Materialism screams, but little by little dreams. Shot at with triple beams.
Shane Dillon is a multi-talented composer and producer. He just recently dropped a brand new album, a debut album called A Star or a Lonely Dreamer, where he had a bunch of Massachusetts creatives and artists collaborate on this album with him. Tons of great vocalists. And this song, Storm, was one of the first singles from it, and actually, ended up being one of my favorites throughout the year. It really got a lot of replayability in a lot of in my library and playlists. And on this one, as I mentioned, he links up with rapper C4 and vocalist Naledi Masilo. I really loved how C4 delivered his vocals. He captures a lot of interesting themes in the song, like battling a life with vices of like materialism, and also the societal pressures that come with like being an artist or being just like a person in today's society. I really think he does a nice job of like being relatable with not only the audience, but also kind of sort of giving off of this idea of this kind of gloominess that surrounds this character that he's portraying. Naledi Masilo's lush vocals play a nice contrast over this ensemble of different sounds and instrumentals that range from artists like Shane Dillon, as well as a brass section from Tim Hall, Miles Kensington, and Matt Estabrook and JP Heston. So a lot of people really collaborated on this song to make the aesthetic what it is, and Shane is behind all of it, composing it, layering a lot of the keyboards. He has an awesome keyboard solo in the second half of this, and I really like too a lot of the sort of sounds that he played with, right? He has like thunder samples coming in here. It really actually sounds like a storm. Again, like I mentioned, there's a very huge kind of gloomy sort of dark cloud type of vibe that is over this song as a whole. And again, whether it's the thunder sample or even the very subtle rain sample that is used here, I think overall it sort of just blends into this harmonious experience that is very cinematic. And this album, A Star or a Lonely Dreamer, had a lot of cinematic moments to it. So I totally encourage you guys to check out this album if you haven't yet. It's a beautiful project. Shane Dillon did a great job with this particular song, Storm, and really the album as a whole. I loved it. Very worthy of the number 13 spot on our list. Coming in at number 12, we have Joyner Lucas with Ramen and OJ featuring Lil Baby.
I got some needs. I need the money, like I need to breathe. I need some honest and I need to scheme. I need the W by any means.
So yes, Joyner Lucas technically, obviously he's a Massachusetts native, so I felt like I would feel like it just necessary to put him on this list instead of the national list from last week. But Ramen and OJ, not a lot to say about it in terms of like the actual content of the song, but it's just a flat out banger, let's be honest. The piano runs are really awesome. It's dark, it's haunting, and I think Joyner and Lil Baby really do a nice job of like perfectly blending together on this song. They have a nice back and forth. They both have really nice fast-paced flows and really interesting rhyme schemes. Just the energy overall of this song, I just couldn't get enough of it. I kept playing it over and over again. It just would stick in my head all the time, especially the hook. Both Joyner and Lil Baby perform it just beautifully, and I think it's overall a song that is just incredibly catchy and certainly noteworthy of this list. So coming in number 12, we have Ramen and OJ. And just outside the top 10, we got my man DK with Reality.
I go through my days asking myself, how do I do it? I got friends in my circle, damn, they really been through it. And I got others who don't even know what time I'll be on. They worried about my dream, well, where the hell is yours?
DK is an artist, a producer, also a teacher as well. So shout out to you, man. I hope your school year is going well. I know it's a crazy time of year to be a teacher, crazy time in our life to be a teacher, to be honest. But anyway, you guys are here for the music. You don't want to hear about teaching, obviously. But DK really had a huge year, not only for his like personal discography, but he did a lot of production as well for artists like Kudo and Lil Step, just to name a few. He also produced the Western Massachusetts Cypher that we covered as well on our page, so make sure you guys go check that out as well on our blog. This song, Reality, I thought was a massive statement for DK, simply because he was so vulnerable in the lyricism here. He confronts a lot of his repressed traumas that he hadn't really ever talked about on, not only music, but maybe with a lot of people that didn't even really thought they knew him but didn't. Or at least knew his background, so to speak. Just, to kind of hear that, there's so many people out there that have struggles. Everyone's kind of fighting a personal battle that we don't really know that much about. And I just thought the song overall had like this very profound self-awareness, that not a lot of music, these days does have. This song feels almost like a rebirth for him in a way. Like, he's accepting his downfalls of his past, and he's really accepting these things. And trying to move on and move forward. I felt like it was just him kind of just trying to air out these demons. So I'm really happy for him that he was able to do that and successfully build such a beautiful song on top of it. The lyrical depth also accompanied by the instrumental, such a nice blend. Both, they really work harmoniously together. The instrumental has this awesome, colorful, psychedelic guitar melody that's blended with hard-hitting snares and a slick bass line. But overall, DK's vocal performance really is the best component of this whole thing, especially at the end. A lot of these very belty vocals that have so much passion and emotion instilled in them. It really just is a powerful listen as a whole. He's able to hit some of these emphatically low notes and also these falsettos, and all the while mixing in these auto-tune croon styled vocals as well. And DK also had a great guest speaker episode on our podcast as well, so also make sure that you go check that out. He talks more in detail about this song, so totally go check that out if you have not. Reality is just overall just very dynamic, transparent, and it's certainly one of my favorite songs of 2021 coming from the Massachusetts area. Big shout out DK. I loved this song, and I can't wait to hear what he has in store in 2022. And we have made it to the top 10. Coming in at number 10, we have Neems with Plan A.
Only plan A, no B. I'ma just plan to B. Money gon' be the key. Money gon' feed the team. Fiends gon' need a key. God protecting me. I got God protecting me. Yeah, God protecting me.
Neems is also no stranger to this list. She made it last year and she is back again this year. And she had a massive 2021, whether it was being featured on some of Apple's exclusive playlists or, just kind of gaining a lot more traction in listeners in general. She has really just elevated herself, much like Van Buren did, as I mentioned earlier, in a way that I'm just so happy for her, and it's so well deserving. She's so unique as an artist with the way that with her pitch, the way that she has such great range with her pitch and just the uniqueness of her voice. Whether she sings or raps, she can really do both so flawlessly. She had a really awesome album this year called It's Above Me that I encourage you guys to check out. Plan A is from this particular album. And overall, with this song Plan A, I just love her rhyme scheme on it, the way her certain vocal inflections really help to kind of give the overall aesthetic a sort of beautiful but also a hard-hitting style that is very unique. And I love the message too about just it's only plan A, don't worry about plan B or C, focus on the goal that you have. And that is really just the most important thing. The rhyme scheme on the hook is super catchy and infectious, and then she has these really fast-paced, hard-hitting flows on all the verses that again just show off her versatility so well. The song's just a total bop. Really enjoy it. It was heavy rotation for me this year. So big shout out to Neems coming in at number 10 with Plan A. Certainly deserving of this list. And that, like I said, 2 years in a row. So hoping she makes it as well for next year too. At number 9, we have Token with Sip.
Remember I would post pics leaning on a new whip, even though it wasn't my car. Finally got the license, I just copped a new Benz. I wish you could see me right now. Girl, you know how I get. Highs, lowest lows, how unstable I get. You understand me more than me, just how crazy I get. I ain't trying to find someone else to explain me that shit.
To me, Token is one of the most interesting artists in Massachusetts. I really love his story so much. He comes from North Shore, Mass. I think he split his time in Salem, Massachusetts, and Marblehead, Mass. Growing up, and I'm originally from Danvers, so I really am very familiar with that area. So it's really cool to see somebody from that area just gaining so much traction and shine. Finally, he really deserves it. He just released a few weeks ago his debut album, Pink is Better, which is just phenomenal. You guys should go totally check this out. I know Token was mostly known for his really fast-paced, hard-hitting flow patterns and his freestyle, most specifically on Sway. And he does have a lot of those aspects on Pink is Better. But this song, Sip, I wanted to highlight because I thought it was such a, different sort of direction that he was able to go in. The song showcased a lot of different styles for him. Specifically, it was very more lush and melodic than anything he's put out in his discography maybe ever. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about Token as an artist, where he's able to actually elevate his own sound and really become a really more versatile artist than he was when he started. This song, Sip, is dedicated to a love interest. He's really trying to discuss about how important this person is. He'll do anything he can for her. He actually even sings in the hook too, and really kind of shows off some of his actual different style that he can actually do. It's just mind-blowing to hear where Token began to where he is now with a song coming out like Sip. I don't think I ever would have thought that he would not only be able to put out a song like Sip, but execute it in such a brilliant way that he was able to do here. I just wanted to give him all the credit in the world for it. Admittedly, it actually is not my favorite song from Pink is Better. However, I do think artistically it's one of his best songs that he's ever put out. So even though I'm still playing it a lot, it's not my favorite song specifically from the album. I felt like it needed to be here just because of really the risk he took and how much it paid off. So big shout out Token, man. You absolutely killed this. I'm so happy for you, and I hope that you continue from here. Big shout out to you, man. At number 9, Token with Sip, certainly worthy of making the top 10. And coming in at number 8, we have Heath 240 with Live.
This ain't that old shit. Get on and go with it. Not the hometown hero no more. Got up, had to even the score.
This is also Heath 240's second year in a row on the list. He had his single Chirp was on the list last year. I believe it was at number 3, and he's now his second time around in the top 10. And what I really like about Heath 240 so much is really how authentic his music is, but also really how specific it can be. Like when you hear a Heath 240 song, you kind of know it's him. He's really cemented a certain style about him that I really just enjoy overall. I really feel like Heath 240 is perfecting the bedroom pop style of music. This song is very atmospheric. It has a really nice, lush tone to it. Kind of similar to Neems, where he's able to rap but also sing as well. He does both so effortlessly, it feels, and he kind of switches back and forth between the two. I just really love this song for the lush production and sort of the way it all came together. It's a song that's super catchy, especially in the hook. I love his very fast flow that he's able to sort of exemplify in this, and in particular, just his style. I think it's just really captivating to me. And even though it's very modern, it has a very interesting, unique spin on it too. So, and I think his voice is just so recognizable as well. And this song live, I played a ton this year. So huge fan of this song. Obviously, if you have been a long-time fan of the podcast, you know how big of a fan I am of Heath 240. Definitely make sure you guys check out live if you have not. The music video as well is fantastic. And big shout out to you, Heath, coming in at number 8. At number 7, we have the China Blue with Silence.
I feel like no one's ever worried about me, 'cause I've said I'm fine too many times. I keep thinking all my friends are gonna leave. It stays in my mind no matter how hard I try. It never subsides. All this silence like a ghost in my mind. It's got me like
The China Blue is also zero stranger to the podcast. He made the list last year, and now he is back on the list this year. Also has a guest speaker episode that I believe was in the tail end of 2020. I don't think it was 2021. I can't quite remember. But either way, he's also been on the podcast as well. So do make sure you check that episode out if you have not yet. And this particular song is from his EP, The Last Several Months, which just released in December, actually released on my birthday, and it was quite the birthday present especially, and I really loved this song, Silence, so much. The aesthetic and sonic appeal of this song is just magnificent. I really love the vocal sample and really how vivid and colorful the entire instrumental is. And what I love most about the song specifically is the way that the China Blue is able to really intricate his vocals into the beat and really the instrumental and make them just play off of each other so perfectly. He exudes so much emotion and passion into these falsettos, and the song just has this really just energy that continuously progresses until the very last moment, about last 30 seconds or so, which has this really awesome breakdown, instrumental breakdown that is just has a little bit more hip hop inspired rather than this more high end bedroom pop style. So the song just has really awesome elements of both styles, and I think that the China Blue is able to execute such a sound like this really shows his talent and versatility as an artist. This song Silence replayed again and again and again for me this year, and I'm just so happy for him that he was able to put out a project that really showcases what he's able to do and really where his sound could potentially go. And I just think as well lyrically, he's also somebody that puts a lot of time and effort into the writing, and it's very apparent on a song like this where it's very introspective and layered. I'm such a huge fan of what he's doing. So big shout out to you, the China Blue. Keep doing your thing. Coming in at number 7 with Silence. Up next at number 6, we have Taha with Intruder.
Till it screams up in my head. No shows at the shows that blows. Boy can't make to the lactose. Not enough credit, yo, bank froze. Hit it from behind till back blows. Ayy, my kids from man, like the bag stroke. They leak out of her like this mad yoke. I launch it, I melt to the back throat. We let it end up to be mad smoke. Ayy, I think it's so hot like it's cup hit.
Taha is back. He's back in the top 10. He was actually number 1 last year with his song Nightmares off of his album Have Nightmares About Me, which is easily one of my favorite projects of 2020. And he comes back this year with another album called Cocaine Jasper, and this is the lead single off of that album. And if you can recall, or if you're a fan of Taha's, Have Nightmares About Me, very dark, very experimental and industrial sounds of this interesting style of hip-hop that he does do. And if you liked that or you're a fan of that, he goes he takes it just completely to the next level on this Cocaine Jasper project, and in particular with Intruder. I mean, my God, it is abrasive, it's dark, it's demonic. Taha really feeds into this alter ego that's called Cocaine Jasper, and he really just completely goes in such a almost psychopathic way on this song, in the video. It's a crazy, mind-blowing experience. It is just abrasively crude in the best possible way. It's the only way I can describe it. The lyrics are just insane. I won't even quote them on here, but I think Taha, what he does in particular, he really plays this character just insanely well. And I really think that the alter ego that he's able to display on this is so artistically sound to me. And he does it so well, not only in the lyrics and his vocal delivery, but also in the overall aesthetic, to actually bring this character to life in the way that he does. So Taha at number 1 last year, falling just ever so slightly to number 6. No knock on him at all. Cocaine Jasper is a phenomenal project that you guys should totally check out. And this song was very, very, very much a huge contender for the top 5, just sitting outside of it at number 6. And we've reached the top 5. Coming in at number 5, we have Mako with Capricorn featuring Haji Gaviota.
I might dye my hair orange. I might finally take my time. I just don't care much. I just live my pretty little life.
Mako is also no stranger to this list, but this is certainly the highest he has been, and very rightfully so, with this song Capricorn and featuring rising New York pop star Haji Gaviota. The soundscape of this song, maybe not that fitting for this season right now that we are in winter, but I'm telling you right now, once the spring and summer months hit, this is an absolute runaway jam that you have to play. For me personally, played it consistently throughout the spring and the summer. It's so warm and bright, and it's very interesting that this was not really a sound that Mako had done a lot of up until this point. A lot of his music was a little bit more like sad boy melancholy, and now with this song he completely goes in this very groovy, funky rendition of himself that I just love so much. And I think overall the smooth, sultry vibe of this song really just plays into how versatile Mako actually is. The guitar-driven indie pop smash that this is such a breath of fresh air, and both Mako and Haji Gaviota do an awesome job of adding such great charisma and relatability with this song. There's an element of like easygoing bliss in this song, but also like a weird insecurity as well, where like Mako has this image of himself and he's unsure of whether or not he should be like, you know, just very sporadic and radical and like dye his hair orange. He talks about like having more of a carefree nature, stepping back sort of from this everyday grind that, you know, I can certainly relate to, that can maybe get you caught up. He has an awesome line here that I think exemplifies this, where he says, "And it's a fact that my mind can be a dangerous neighborhood, but I still walk in it late at night." Mako, sorry, I know you do it so much better, man, but it just sticks in my head even right now. And Haji Gaviota at the end of the song really adds a great element to it, you know, really referencing and sort of reinforcing, you know, picking yourself up when you're down, really not really like listening to other people's, you know, perspectives, you know, as much, especially if they're negative, but also yourself too, how you can, you know, we can also sometimes, you know, be our own worst enemy. Overall, it's like certainly one of my favorite songs of the year. It's just, it's impossible to put this on and not feel so good about it. Phoenix Rios, my co-host, and I, we both talked about it at length on our podcast, one of our song reviews that we did a little bit earlier this year. I also wrote a piece on this as well on our blog that you guys should totally check out. But yeah, man, like, big shout out to you, Mako and Haji Gaviota, for this one. It is just a spring and summer jam that I'm sure anybody, if you haven't heard it yet, you will fall in love with it. At number 4, we have Hex featuring Cronin. This is their song, Wait.
Weight on my shoulders, down in my downtime. Speak to me softly, the weight is killing me.
Hex is an artist, a producer. He's also an engineer as well. You guys probably most notably know him for our Mixing Tips with Hex segment that we have through our Right Mind partnership. And he dropped a phenomenal album this year called Some of My Insecurities. This song, Wait, is the lead single from it. Sonically, the song Wait is amazing. It really blends these really acoustic guitar chords with a nice drum progression. It's very melodic and has sort of like a sad boy feel to it. Hex really creates this narrative of a relationship that seems very stable on the surface, but it's anything but. This relationship he's highlighting is toxic, it's unhealthy, but he himself actually seems like he's unsure how to get out of it or how to get himself away from this person completely. I think the best part about the song is its actual message. It contains this sort of idea of, you know, if you are complacent or you're dealing with somebody in your life that's toxic and you're having a hard time getting away from them, that it's actually going to be worse for you down the line if you don't cut that cord right away. If you continuously allow that person in. But on the other hand, the aesthetic and vibe of the song just feels a lot more like hopeful and positive. So I just love that like duality that Hex and Cronin are actually able to portray within the song. The music video is really cool. It depicts them both like trying to do very mundane activities like throwing footballs or just eating burgers, trying to just get over this heartbreak and really just forget about this, this toxic person that's trying to bring them down. The song is just really cool. It's uplifting, but it has a little bit of a darker tone to it than you might think. The music video, as I mentioned, is awesome. We also wrote about this song a little bit more in depth, so if you want to check that out on our blog, again, please do so. This is just a song I came back to time and time again this year. I'm such a huge fan of it. Big shout out to Hex and Cronin for their single Wait, coming in at number 4. And we are getting close, guys. We're at the top 3, and coming in at number 3 we have Marcel Stefan with That's All.
Should've that tell myself I don't even care about the state of my health. I don't need nothing long as I'm making my wealth. Make it now, I'm just trying to make it, that's all. Should've that tell myself I don't need nobody cause I can stay to myself. Can't nobody understand the way that I feel. Don't nobody need to see me, I can play it like stealth, that's all. Should've that tell myself swear that I'm the shit, can't smell myself. Looking for a cross just to know myself. Never losing myself cause I keep it real with myself, that's all. Should've that tell myself I don't even care about the state of my health. I don't need nothing long as I'm making my wealth. Make it now, I'm just trying to make it, that's all.
The Gardner, Massachusetts-based hip-hop artist juxtaposes his aspirations and insecurities on this single, That's All. This song, That's All, from Marcel is easily his best song, in my opinion, that he has put out to date. And interestingly enough, it also is the most unique song that he has ever put out, because it doesn't sound like anything else in his discography. It's much more melodic and very upbeat. The hook is super moody and it has really some awesome double time flows. It's incredibly catchy and infectious to listen to. It's one of my favorite hooks I've heard so far this year, albeit the number 1 song on this list is probably my favorite hook, but this is easily a close second in my opinion. This acoustic guitar loop that he uses in the song is almost folk sounding. It's very again, very different than anything he has in his discography. I think it pairs really nicely with these subtle drums and hi-hats, and the aesthetic is just so raw and emotional. It perfectly portrays exactly what he's trying to talk about with this sort of duality, this catch-22, so to speak, of if he does attain the fame, again, will it bring him happiness overall? Really, for me, what stands out is the honest lyricism of this song. He really wants to make it and make it big as an artist, but he sort of also questions whether or not these things in particular that come along with the fame, the luxurious cars and homes and beautiful women, is this really something that will be long lasting and give him long lasting happiness? Or is it really the journey and really enjoying himself while doing it? That's what's most important? He's really trying to grapple with both of these ideas, really unsure of himself, and I just love how vulnerable he gets on this song. He shows a little bit of his stubbornness as well, shows also some of maybe the anxiety and depression that he's potentially going through as he sort of questions if this is the path for him. He even questions a lot of his faith as well, is this going to be, is this really in the cards for me? What is it going to do for me going forward? I really feel that this is Marcel's most vulnerable and introspective song in his discography by far, and I love this song so much. He did such an amazing job. I love the acoustic guitar melody on this as well. It's just so infectious, but in such a humbling way, and I just thoroughly enjoyed this song so much. Big shout out to Marcel Stefan. We also did a piece on this on our blog as well, so once again, a lot of these songs we have full-fledged articles about, so if you want to see a little bit more in-depth written piece as well, totally go check that out. But very deserving of number 3 spot. Marcel didn't make the list last year, and he makes it in such a big way this year at number 3 with That's All. Coming in at number 2, we have Garrett Merck with Hold On.
Yeah, look, from the day I jumped into this life, I swear I've been on some different shit, smile still glistening, I swear y'all not listening, I've been on that headphone, stay on, please don't talk to me. When it comes to this music, please do not offer me,
The Brockton hip-hop artist is also no stranger to the list. He made it last year with his album 10 Minutes Late. That was just a phenomenal project that I really enjoyed from him last year. I've actually really weirdly enough been listening to him back since he was Merck. He had this song called Fish Brains that a few of my college friends and I would listen to a lot. That was just fantastic. I just love to see where he's taken his music since. He dropped many singles in 2021, but this one was particularly my favorite because I thought the production was a bit unique. It had like this sort of interesting mesh of like ambient but also like eclectic sounds. Had a nice like very stripped back guitar chord in the background that I think added some depth to the actual instrumental. But again, similar to That's All, I thought the lyricism was just phenomenal here and really was like the highlighting standout of the track. He has so many introspective and nostalgic sort of lines and lyrics, and the tone itself gives off even itself just for a very like nostalgic feeling. The song really adheres to him like staying true to himself, like sort of finding that inner child again a little bit. You know, he even as sort of retrospect talks a little bit about like some examples of him like just being at lunch as a high school kid and as a school kid essentially, which I thought was really nice and interesting. But my favorite part aesthetically here is definitely the distorted vocal sample and really the harmonious nature in which the hook really kind of captivates the listener here. I felt like that this was one of the best hooks of the year for sure. And just the song as a whole, it's so pure, it's so honest. And I've really just obviously enjoyed Mark so much over the years, and I'm so happy that he's put out and really the song like this and like found a sound for him that really seems like it's working. So Garrett Merck with Hold On, I mean this song was constantly in my rotation this year, and it's a song that really speaks to me a lot. So really big shout out to you, Garrett Merck, for this one, coming in at number 2 with Hold On. And it's that time. We are here at the number 1 song from Massachusetts in 2021. Give me a little drum roll, please. And it is Johan Lennox with You Up, featuring Ant Clemens.
Liquor got me thinking I'm in love. I just wanna feel like I'm enough. You up. But I'll find a way to fuck us up. Liquor got me thinking I'm in love. I just wanna feel like I'm enough. You up. But I'll find a way to fuck us up.
The Winchester, Massachusetts native is also an alum of the Turntable Teachers. One of my favorite episodes that we probably have in our catalog. Came out, I believe, sometime in April of 2021. So if you missed that episode, definitely check it out. And Johan had some other music this year that I could have maybe put on this list, like Phases. Phases was also flirting with the list as well. And he also had a EP come out called the Chamber versions, or it was a chamber, essentially an EP of some of his older songs, but chamber versions. Just for context, Johan has a really interesting orchestral background. He's really somebody that has brought orchestra music with contemporary music and really blended it together in a way that I don't think a lot of artists are actually doing. And I was very much ready to have Phases on this list until he dropped You Up. And I became essentially obsessed with this song ever since it came out in early November. And Johan paints this interesting narrative with this character he's portraying. I think there's a lot of these similar themes with his upcoming album, What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up, which is set to release in March. But I think this particular song really is entrenched in that idea of like growing up itself, and you kind of hit this point where, you know, you want to be young, you want to be free, but you also like are starting to see some of your own mortality. And in this song, he's really having an internal dilemma where after a night out of drinking, does he want to hit up his love interest? And really, what is the purpose of him even reaching out? Does he want a relationship with this girl? Maybe not. Does he want a one-night stand? Also not sure either there. He's really just unsure of how he feels about her and just love in general. Like, for example, if he does go with the former, if he does want to go be in this relationship with her, there's some trepidation about like being boxed in and like, the fear of commitment. And if it's the latter and he does have this one night stand with this woman, does he sort of fuck up this whole thing and is he like destined to be alone forever? Essentially, the listener is sitting here going, what the fuck does this character want? Like, we don't know. Johan doesn't know, but that's essentially kind of the beauty of this song in general. It's by far one of the catchiest hooks I've heard all year, and just the aesthetic and just the sonic appeal of this, like, it's unlike a lot of things out there right now. It has, again, those orchestral violins and strings, but also with really the more modern contemporary trap and really hip hop inspired drums. But one of my favorite things about Johan in general is the way he like delivers his vocals, the vocal distortions and the inflections that he uses, how he really kind of uses so much reverb on his vocals and really kind of gives it that like atmospheric sound. And then Ant Clemens on the back end adds just a great contrasting element to Johan, kind of similar here, playing off these similar themes, like texting this woman being like, hey, I know you're up, I know you're reading this, there's like a weird insecurity here as well with Ant Clemens as part of this. I think it just complements what Johan's trying to get at in this entire song. The song is just brilliantly executed. It's intricate, it's detailed, it's very layered, it's catchy as well. Like, there's just so much to love about this song. I kept playing it over and over and over again. The hook is just stuck in my brain. I can't get it out. Some days I find myself just like, it'll pop in my head every once in a while. Overall, I am just so excited to hear what Johan has in store with this upcoming album, What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? And hopefully he also has another song on the list in 2022. But for now, we want to really show him some love and gratitude for the #1 song from Massachusetts, You Up, featuring Ant Clemens. And that's it, guys. That concludes Graduation 2021. I love doing these. I'm so excited that I was able to come back and share my favorite songs and music of 2021 with you. I hope you liked these lists. And if you didn't, I encourage you to share a comment with us. Let us know what songs were your favorite of 2021 on either YouTube or Instagram. What songs did I miss? If you had a top 10 or a top 20, screw it. Even if you want to give me a top 21, that would be super cool too. Let me know what your favorite songs are of this past year. I love to hear new music, of course. I mean, this is kind of the point of this podcast, is to share music with each other. So anything that you guys feel like I missed or you want to add, feel free. And we are officially moving on to 2022. Be on the lookout for some great new content coming from us coming soon. Some things that we haven't done before and haven't done yet. I'm just really excited for what's in store. I appreciate everybody riding with us and being patient with us and with the reboot of our podcast. I'm so grateful to be doing this still, and I can't thank you all enough. And yeah, please, of course, as I mentioned, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Turntable Teachers, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and all podcast streaming services. And until next time, I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.